Now, let's just, because our author did not really bring the story from the sources of authentic, so I'm going to narrate the story, which is almost the same in the book, but in more authenticity, from Salama radiallahu anha wa ardaha. And this hadith, as I said, is to be authentic. Salama, the wife of the Prophet ﷺ, who was the wife of Abu Salama when she migrated to Abyssinia, she says, when we landed in Abyssinia, she says that we had been the neighbors of the best of neighbors. She's talking about whom? And Najash. Talking about whom? The Christian people who are residing in Abyssinia. Because I said a number of times, the person who does not thank the people, who does not thank Allah. So if the people were good to you, you have to thank them. So if you've been living in this country and the country done you very well, you have to thank them as well. The one who does not, he does not thank Allah, who does not thank the people. So here, Salama radiallahu anha, she keeps saying, as soon as she started, and at the end as well, she keeps repeating it. We were in the best of lands, in the best of neighbors, looking after us. Just like Jazakumullah khair. She says, An-Najashi. An-Najashi is a title for every person who leads Abyssinia. It's not his name, it's a title. So any person who leads Abyssinia, Habash is called An-Najashi. This one is called Ashama. At that time. She said, he had gave us security and safety regarding our religion. Meaning that we have worshipped Allah, and we're not being harmed, and we don't hear anything that we dislike. So this is as well a lesson for those who are supposed to be just as well, or supposed to be the ancestors, the offspring of these Christians. So if you're a true Christian person, and if the country as well to be following the right morals and values, look at that. They would not let anybody would say anything regarding the Muslims. So if the Muslims hate something, they will stop it. They will not let anybody harm the Muslims. And unfortunately, these days we're finding that everything is to be said haram, not allowed, except if it is anything against Islam or against Muslims. That's have to be saying it. I mean, there is justice, but there is some injustice as well, which can be exploited by this little, group of people, to make this, which, we don't really agree upon, which is terrorism and so on and so forth, because of that little injustice that's taking place. So that injustice was not at that time. Now these days we find anything that is against Islam, they bring it out. So justice, Salama, she said, لا نؤذى ولا نسمع شيئا نكرهه. We don't be harmed in that country. And we don't hear anything that we dislike. It's not the government telling the people off, no, the people being educated as well. Being educated, those are true Christians. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about them in the book, that they'll be the closest to Muslims, Christians. فَلَمَّا بَلَغَ ذَلِكَ قُرَيْشًا. When the people of Quraysh heard about this, that they are in the nice land and they're being looked after, they had been enraged. And they decided to send to An-Najashi, to the king, 2 men, and those are the men I mentioned here, Amr al-As and Abdullah ibn Rabi'a radiallahu anhuma. They were polytheists at that time. So these two, what they have done, they brought with them from Mecca gifts. When you give a gift to somebody, you get whatever you like from them. We see that feed the stomach, the eye will be shy. That's a parable, is it? Feed the stomach, the eye will be shy. Do you understand that? You feed the stomach, the eye, if you ask him something, he's shy to say no because you already fed him. And that's how these people who bribe the king, the judges, they give them a meal. And then after that, they get what they want from them. And that's why it's not allowed for the judge to accept invitations like this. It's not allowed for the judge to accept gifts, because he will not be just in his judgment. So they brought for him the skins of animals, because they like it. The people of the city, they like it, especially the king. So they brought lots of skins for him. And they did not leave a single commander from his army, except that they given him what? A gift from that. Why? Because they want the support as well, the commanders. The commanders, all of them say, what they want, and everybody will be with them. And then Amr al-As and Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'a, sorry, I said Abdullah ibn Rabi'a, Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'a. They themselves went to An-Najashi And they said to the commanders, we're going to talk to your king. So as soon as we talk to him and we tell him, you agree with us. So they said, yes, okay. Because there are some group of people who had left our land. We are the people who know about them because we are the relatives of theirs. So they came with an innovative religion. Look at that, they came with an innovative religion, which you don't know it. You don't know it as well. So we will talk to the king to bring them back and you agree. They said, okay. They got the gift. So when they have given the gifts to the king and the king accepted it from them, so they started speaking to him. They said, oh, your majesty, some group of us, they are sufaha. Sufaha means fool. They are naive. They are immature. They have left the religion of their people. فارقوا دين قومهم أو دين قومهم ولم يدخلوا في دينك, and they did not enter in your religion. وجاءوا بدين مبتدع, and they have come with a religion which is innovative religion. لا نعرفه نحن ولا أنت. We don't know it, nor you know it. Neither us nor you know it. And the most noble of our tribes, they have sent us, because those noble tribes, they are their fathers and their cousins and their uncles and their other tribes. They know about them. So in order for you, your majesty, to send them back with us, because they know what they have done in terms of bid'ah and innovation. So Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah and Amr ibn al-As, they didn't like what they have heard from al-Najashi. What did he say? So first of all, the commanders, they said, yes, king, yes, your majesty, they have said the truth. Their people, they know about their faults, so send them and back with them so they could take them to their land. So al-Najashi, he was so enraged and so angry. So he said, by Allah, no way. I will not give him back to you, because there are people who had sought my shelter and they came as guests into my land and they have chosen me against others, and I will not surrender them to you until I call them and I ask them about what you have said, the claim that you have alleged. So if it is the case, then I will surrender to you. Otherwise, I will not, and I will keep them in my land, and I will protect them as well. So he sent now to the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to call them to be summoned before the king. So now we read and then we end.
According to the plan, the two representatives of the Quraysh first met the Abyssinian bishops and bribed them in order to gain access to the king. When they succeeded in getting an audience with him, they presented him with gifts from Arabia. Then they stated their case.
So the gifts now, what are they? Skins of animals. Now,
O king, some foolish men from our city have taken refuge in your majesty's country. They have abandoned our religion, but rather than accepting your religion, they have invented one of their own. Their families, knowing of their delusions, have sent us to your majesty to bring them back home. When they had made their plea to the king, the Abyssinian bishop stood and urged him to grant their request. The king, however, was a very fair judge. He said that he would allow both parties to make their statements before making a decision. The Muslim refugees were summoned to the king's court. Then the king questioned them why they had entered an unknown religion that had caused them to abandon their families and tribes. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib.
So the companions now got together and conferred which one is going to speak on their behalf. So they have chosen Ja'far, the cousin of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Ja'far is one of the people who had migrated as well, along with Uthman and Salama and Abu Salama. So Ja'far now, and well spoken, he spoke and he said, so what did he say? Now,
Ja'far ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam's cousin, rose on behalf of the Muslims and said, O king, we were a nation steeped in ignorance. We worshipped idols, ate carrion, and committed many abominations.
Carrion means dead animals. We're eating carrions, dead animals. Now, animals which are not being slaughtered now.
We neglected our kin and mistreated our neighbors. The strong among us devoured the weak. We lived thus until Allah raised among us a messenger of whose noble lineage, truthfulness, honesty, and purity we were all aware.
Now, so he's saying basically that we were in a jungle law. It's a jungle law, isn't it? Jungle law means that the strong devour the wealth of the weak. That's jungle law. And we are bad to our neighbors, we eat the dead animals, we worship idols, we are pagans and all of that. Now, so here Allah sent us someone whom we know, his lineage, his truthfulness, his chastity, his trustworthiness. So he called us now.
He invited us to acknowledge the oneness of God, to worship Allah, and to renounce the stones and idols our forefathers were used to venerate. He enjoined upon us to speak the truth, to keep our word, and to be kind and considerate to our relatives and neighbors. He forbade us to shed blood, to act wantonly, to lie, and to deceive others. He forbade us to encroach upon the property of orphans or to vilify chaste women. He commanded us to worship Allah alone without associating anything with Him. He ordered us to pray, to fast, and to pay the poor their due. We acknowledged He was Allah's messenger and believed in Him. We followed Him in whatever He brought from Allah, and we worshipped only one God without associating anything with Him. We treated as unlawful what He forbade and embraced what He made lawful for us. At this, our people were estranged. They persecuted us, tried to seduce us from our faith, and force us to return to idolatry, pressing us to return to the abominations we used to commit earlier. When they tortured us, ground us under their tyranny, and stood between us and our religion, we fled to your country, choosing you above others for refuge. We have come here, O King, to your country, seeking your protection. We hope that we shall not be dealt with unjustly. The king listened patiently to Ja'far radiallahu anhu. Then he asked Ja'far if he could recite something that had been revealed to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam
from Allah. Now,
Ja'far radiallahu anhu then recited the opening verses of Surah Maryam, named after Mary, the mother of Jesus. The king wept until tears flowed to his beard, and the bishops were also overcome. Truthfully, this and what Jesus brought are from the same divine light.
This means he had embraced Islam. Because the person said that, it's like it's embracing Islam. Because he doesn't know yet the Shahada to enter Islam. But believing in that, for someone who doesn't know how to say La ilaha illallah, that's embracing Islam. Do you understand that? Because he said whatever has been sent to Prophet Isa, the Prophet Muhammad comes from the same source as from Allah the Almighty. So he had believed already that this is Quran. So he's embracing Islam if he didn't know to say the Shahada. Now,
then turning to the envoys of the Quraysh, the king said, "You may go. By God, I shall never give them to you, nor will they be ill-treated."
Allahu Akbar. Salama, she says, when they left from the presence of the king, Amr ibn al-As, he said, "Verily, tomorrow I'm going to tell him something through which he will uproot them." You know what I mean, uproot them? Take them out of the ground like this. So Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah, he said, verily these people, they've got, kingship, they've got relationship, and you shouldn't do that. Even though they are opposing us and they are different from us and they are adopting different religion, we should not say that. He said, no, wallahi, I'm going to tell the king that they say Isa, the son of Mary, is to be a slave, abd. Go ahead.
The two envoys from the Quraysh now changed their tactics. The next day...
It's not the two, it's actually, who's that? Amr ibn al-As. So Amr ibn al-As is the one who had done that, not the two of them, because Abdullah ibn Rabi'ah, he did not really approve that plan. Now,
The next day they returned to the king's court and made another attempt to convince the king to expel the Muslims from his country. Amr tried to incite the king against the Muslims. O king, they assert a dreadful thing about Jesus, which is too shameful to be repeated before you. The king again summoned the Muslims to his court and questioned about their belief regarding Jesus.
No, he said to him that they believe that Isa is a slave. Isa is a slave. Abd. Now.
Ja'far ibn Abu Talib radiallahu anhu replied, we say about him that which our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam
Before that,
taught
what
us.
happened? The companions conferred with one another what they should do, what they should say regarding this issue. So Ja'far ibn Talib said, verily we will not say to the king except what we have learned from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what Allah had told us in our book, regardless who we speak to. So this is to show the courage of the companions to declare the haqq, to have the courage for that. Don't be ashamed of your religion, because if you are upon the haqq, you will be standing firm. But if your religion is not really strong enough, you'll be shy to show your religion. You'll be shy to show your Islam. You have to be strong. So I remember that a person was adopting a sect which he knows there's something wrong with it. So he was and I was doing a khutbah. Then after I finished the khutbah, he asked me a question in front of some 6, 7 people, I can remember. It was a circle. And he asked me a question because my talk had touched upon the Qadianis. You know the Qadianis. They claim to be Muslims. So, and I said the Qadianis in that khutbah. And then I did not say they're not Muslims or not, but in that circle, he asked me. So I said, what is my opinion regarding the Qadianis? He started defending. So I said to him, are you a Qadiani? Straight away. From the talk. I said, Qadiani. He started running away from this topic. I said, look, now I could really swear by Allah that you are a Qadiani. But why are you ashamed? If you are a Qadiani, say, I'm a Muslim. I am Sunni. I'm upon the Salaf. I'm not shy of that. But if your religion is not really good, you try, that's when you are really saying that I am not. Exactly like the Shia. If a person whom you have asked, whom you think that he's Shia, you said to him, are you Shia? And he said to you, there is no difference, he's a Shia. This is for sure. It will not be, most unlikely it will be an ignorant Ahl Sunnah. Maybe, but most likely is what? Shia. I would say, there's no difference. When he says that no difference, no, he's a Shia. Why are you scared to be a Shia? Shia. And then we will tell you that you're wrong. But don't play on both roads, from here to jump here. Yeah, so with the Muslims you are Umar, Sunni. With the Shia you are Ali. Don't play on both ropes. It's like this. I'm Shia. So what? Khalid, you're Shia. And we'll talk to you as a Shia. But if you are a person holding the rope from somewhere, this is what a person called Dr. Adnan Ibrahim. For those who didn't hear about this doctor, please forget about it. But this person, he speaks as a person who represents Ahl Sunnah, which he's not. And he is challenging everything, our principles. Even Imam Sahih al-Bukhari is to be Sahih or not. And he does not even muhaddith. So some of the TV channels started talking to the shuyukh and the scholars to debate with him. To debate with him about, as what? First of all, he's not knowledgeable. Secondly, on what ground? Because this person does not represent Ahl Sunnah. Ahl Sunnah doesn't say that. If he says, well, he's Shia, we'll debate with him. But he's not saying he's Shia. And of course, Ahl Shia, they're happy with him, they talk with him, he appears on their channels, mashallah, very good. And later on, alhamdulillah, there are people Ahl Sunnah knew that he's a Shia. He's not Ahl Sunnah. He's not, definitely. So, to debate with someone who is, we call it like al-hirba. Al-hirba, you know, the lizard that changes color? Chameleon, that's the one. Like chameleon from camouflage. It changes. This is very difficult to debate with. Because you call him in this, he says, I'm not that, I'm this. So you call him in this, he says, I'm not this, I'm that. So if he, for example, Ash'ari, I will talk to him. And I will debate with him. If he is Jahmi, I'll talk to him. But if he's khiti, we call it in Arabic, I don't know what type of manhaj he is. I don't have, what should I, how can I debate with him? Do you understand? I need to know what is his aqidah. So I could prepare it, and then I'll read about Ash'ariyya, what is Ash'ariyya, read, I'll talk to him. But this person is everything. You call him there, he says, no, I'm not that, I'm this. Oh, forget about it. What made us to say that, subhanAllah. Right, so coming here to what I've said.
Ja'far ibn Abi Talib radiallahu anhu replied, we say about him what we say about him that which our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has taught us.
No.
Jesus was a human being and Allah's prophet.
No. Jesus was slave of Allah, Abdullah, and he was his prophet, and he was a spirit from him.
He was a spirit and a word
casted on to Maryam, the
blessed Virgin Maryam.
The blessed Al-Adra al-Batul, the blessed Virgin Maryam, correct.
The king took a straw from the ground and said.
So what he did, he struck the hand with his palm, the land, and he picked up a little piece of wood. God, stick, whatever. No.
By God, Jesus, the son of Mary, does not exceed what you have said by the length of this straw.
Actually, by the thickness of that straw. Amen. So that thickness will be the length of the thickness of music, even nothing, no difference. Go ahead.
Go and live in my territory in peace and security.
At that time, his batariq, his bishops, his commanders didn't like it. They started, there's a clamor there. He said, even if you say, whether you like it or not, this is the truth. His commanders said, they didn't like what he said, regarding that there is no difference between what you have said and what we believe. So his bishops started, they call it like dog barking in the back. No. But because he's a kid, the lion, quiet. Even if you are doing this, wallahi, this is the truth. Go ahead.
Those who ill-treat you will be punished.
Look at that king. He said, he who insults you, ill-treat you, he will be punished, not only be punished, he will be fined, ghurrin, money. Hit them in their pockets, they'll be quiet. Go ahead.
I shall not give you any trouble even if I were offered a mountain of gold in exchange.
Allahu Akbar. This is the justice. Even if they give him as a bribe, gold, never mind skin of animals. That's a gift. Give me gold. As mountains, I will not harm a person. That's it, finish. Okay, well, I'm gonna. He said, what about the gifts?
The king then ordered that all the gifts brought by the envoys from the Quraysh be returned. Having failed miserably, the two envoys left for Arabia in great shame.
Okay, now I'll tell you now but a word what he said. Thirdly, he said, give them back their gifts, for we have no need in them. I will not, by Allah, take a bribe. I will not take a bribe in the sake of Allah, because Allah did not take a bribe from me when He gave me the leadership. Do you understand that? Allah did not take a bribe from me to give me this leadership. How can I take a bribe in His sake? Me looking after these people. That's how just He was. So He had said to them, go into my land, do what you can do, whatever you want. And for those two people, they went back. Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah and Amr ibn al-As, disgraced, meaning failing their mission. What do we learn from that? Lots. Number one, that a Muslim should migrate from the land where he is not able to establish his religion. So if you are in a land where you cannot pray your Fajr in the masjid, cannot practice your religion, your wife, she cannot come out with hijab, you can't have education for your children with a segregation, leave. Leave and go to another land. Don't stay there. Otherwise, you are a zalim. Zalim means you are an oppressor to yourself, zalim to your family, zalim to Allah, the Almighty subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't do that. You can't bring up your children in an environment where they're not able to practice their religion. They're not allowed to put their dress code, especially the sisters. So in France, for those sisters, it's not a good environment for them at the moment. It's like a hostile environment. It's not all of the France, but most of the parts of the France. Sister, she cannot cover herself there. She could put a medical mask to cover her face, no problem. She could paint her face black, like black, as in, you paint half of it, like a veil. Paint black, no problem. She could, do anything but not a niqab. Now this is ajib, wallahi. This is ajib, subhanAllah. My freedom, I want to cover myself. This is my freedom, I want to cover myself. I can't understand. And this is, as I said, those people, they don't know what they're doing. They're actually provoking what we call terrorism. They're making terrorism to come on the surface. And that deliberate or not, is Allah Ta'ala alam. Maybe. But we just say to them, it's not really, why don't you give this? Why don't you give us the same thing that Islam gives you when you are in their land? In a Muslim land, they are entitled to their ibadah, to worship. So we are entitled to our ibadah. And if you look at the Christianity, the real ones, they had veils. If you look at the Judaism, which is the real one, they had veils. Have you seen the real Jews? Wallahi, woman from top to, she's covered. I don't know if you've seen them or not. Veil, like this, proper veil. Even eyes shown. So that's the real sort of Islam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the nuns, the nuns before? Nuns properly, but now the nuns are having short skirts. I can't believe that, nuns. Short skirts, nuns. That's their religion, they want to change whatever they want, but this is the nuns before. No short skirts. Priests used to be having beards. Now priests still shaven. You don't know if he's a priest or not except by his collar. Something like that, that's it. So the second as well thing that we learn, that the Muslims, that if they are fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will make them a way through that calamity. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُدَافِعُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had given that way of ease to the people of the Muhajirin, the migrants, to Habasha, in order to fulfill their obligation towards Allah by their ibadah. They were under persecution, so Allah made them an ease by making them to migrate to that land. Also, from the thing that we learned, the kuffar, in every time and every place, they would spend all their money in order to stop the way of Allah. True or not, they would do everything. The disbelievers, in every word, in every place, in every time, they would spend all their money to stop and hinder the call to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you are in a land where they're giving you space of freedom to give the da'wah, you should appreciate that and all the time thank them. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. If you are allowed to give Salatul Eid outside in a park, we're not allowed that, wallahi, in some of the Muslim countries. You're not allowed that. You're not allowed to have massive gatherings in Muslim lands. You know that. So if you're allowed in some country like here to give a da'wah outside where you're being even protected by the police, thank you very much for that. This is a really great da'wah. And as I said, if we had an Islamic state country in Khilafah, we have no trouble whatsoever to have good dealing with this country. And we will not fight this country because they are letting us do what? To freely accept. And freely, people can accept Islam, no problem. And also to make the da'wah. We only fight those the ones who stop us from making the da'wah. So the country gives you the grazie, this Islamic state have no problem. There will no fighting, no jihad against them. Because they're letting us to come and call for the sake of Allah. So I said, please appreciate the space of freedom that's being given to you. Because it's about to be taken. That nice carpet is being pulled out from underneath your feet, bit by bit, because of some, I call them idiots. That's what I call them, idiots. They don't understand the religion. It's all of it just shouting for them. Takbir! Takbir on what, Allah? Takbir on your jahil. Also, man sadaqa najah. That's what we learn. That he's been truthful, he will be having the salvation. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, he said, I'm going to say the truth, what Allah told us. Regarding Isa alayhi salam, I'm not going to say, no, we say he said he's a mighty man. He could fly and he could, in order to get away from the king. He did not say that. He said, we say that he's a slave. And we say he's a slave of Allah. We say that he's a messenger. and we say the Spirit of Allah from Allah, and we say that He is the Word casted unto Maryam, the Blessed Virgin. Truthfulness. So man sadaqa najah. As the Prophet said, he was truthful, Allah will give him salvation. That's what we learn from that story. Also that we learn, of course, the excellence of Al-Najashi, Ashama, radiallahu anhu wa ardah. He was a king whom the Muslim did not have any oppression in his time. And the Prophet of Allah sallallahu upon his death, he said, مَاتَ الْيَوْمْ رَجُلٌ صَالِحٌ. Today, he's been told by the angels, that today a righteous man had died. Not just an ordinary man, a righteous man had died. Go and get up and make a prayer upon him. So they prayed, the prayer, even the corpse was not in front of them. He died where? In Abyssinia. And he was buried where? In a Christian cemetery. But he is what? Muslim. Allahu Akbar. And the Prophet offered the prayer even though there was no corpse. Radiallahu anhu wa ardah. And he made 4 takbirat for the janazah. Now we're coming to continuation, please.